and from around the world. So I'm going to do this in English. I'm very sorry for the people who are not that convenient with this, but I hope it will kick ass either way. Okay. Um, Wait a second. Let me just add something here. Okay, so you guys can see my screen okay. Okay, perfect. So let's start. So today we're going to talk about amazing. Okay, I love to see the turnout, guys. I like there's some really people that I really love, and I'm really happy to see you guys here. And I hope you'll all enjoy this presentation. So today, basically, we're going to talk about how to set up your goals for 2016. The reason I decided to do this was actually because I know that when I was setting goals for myself and I was doing it very strategically, I was getting a lot more done and I was happier, admittedly, as a person on that year. And I know that really helps to focus people on, and it's really one of the tools that really helped me. A lot of the people that I admire most are very strict about setting their own goals, and there are people who are, as I define at least, are very successful. And when I personally structure my goals for 2016, I use the advice of a few different people, some of it by articles, some of it by consultations. So what basically you will see in this presentation is the process that I use for myself. And inside you will see tips that I got from people like Gary Vaynerchuk and Tim Ferriss, and best practices, and all those life hacker blogs, and etc. But the cool thing about this is that if you follow through, it actually works, right? This presentation is not about magic. It's not about tricks. It's not about, it's basically about putting the right hard work into it. There's a lot of hassle into it, and you just have to do it. So there will be no magic bullets in this presentation, but it will be a very good process that you can follow and actually achieve most of your goals for 2016. So without further ado, let's get into this. If you have any questions, you can always ask, by the way, on the event page. I will try and answer them as much as I can as we go. And I will, of course, leave room for questions. So, okay. So what we're going to talk about today is, first of all, why you actually need to set goals, right? We're going to talk a little bit about why most people fail, because I know that probably either yourself or your best friends have always come up to you at the beginning of the year having these crazy resolutions saying that they're going to change, and nothing ever really works for them, right? So like it pretty much fails like 99% of the time. So we're going to cover why most people fail, and of course we're going to help you understand how you can succeed. We're going to talk a little bit about choosing the right goals. Not every goal that you say you want to achieve is the right goal, and we'll talk about that, of course. We'll talk about how to define your goals in a way that you can actually achieve them, how to make your plan so you can actually follow through on your promises and goals, and we'll talk a little bit about how to follow through with your goals, and a little bit of the tools that I help, and I know that a lot of other people help use it to help themselves. So let's start with why do you even need to set goals. So basically, the thing about goals is that it gives you a really like a long-term vision, but it gives you the motivation to do stuff in the short term, right? Because when you're working on a long-term goal, you do a lot of very small steps that you sometimes don't see that will reward you anytime soon. But if you have a long-term vision, you will know that basically these are all steps in the way. So basically, having goals will help you like focus your acquisition of knowledge, help you organize your time and resources, so you can make the most out of your life and out of your time, right? So just to break it down a little bit. Basically, when you sit down to set your goals, you're actually confronting yourself, and you kind of have to face yourself and answer, what do you really want to do, right? Because you will see that you will focus on like about 3 to 4 things this year. So you really have to face yourself and really be truthful about what you actually want to achieve. Not what you say you want to achieve, not what you tell people you want to achieve, but what actually matters to you. The second thing is that Okay, so if it's a little bit blurry, so I'm guessing it's the internet. Um, I don't know if anyone of you here works for Bezic. I guess some of you might actually work for Bezic, so it's time to send your complaints. Can you see it better now? If you can see it better, just write yes in the comments. Okay, so Via is actually giving a good advice to change the resolution in your YouTube. But either way, I'm going to read out everything. So, and you're going to have the presentation later on if you want to as well. So I hope it will help. So the second reason why it's so important to set up goals is that basically it's properly forward. It basically is something you can always look into and see the goals that you're setting for yourself and get motivated and know that you're moving forward with what you are doing. Okay, so now somebody says that you can't see it at all. Okay, guys, can you see the presentation? Yes? Okay. So the third thing is that it really keeps you focused, right? There's so many distractions and so many noise in our daily life and whatever is happening to us, family, work, employees, colleagues. There's so much stuff that people ask you to do that it's really easy to lose focus. And then, December comes in again, or maybe even like the next January, and you kind of look at your life and you understand that you're really not where you wanted to be because you were doing so many other things that were time consuming, but they were not helping you progress at all. So it helps you, it keeps you focused. It helps you to live your life to the fullest just because you do what you really care about, right? So you know that you're not going to waste time bullshitting or doing stuff that you are not excited about. You know that you will actually be doing the stuff that you're passionate about. So it really helps you to live life a little bit better and to the fullest. And goals transform big problems into small obstacles, right? Every time we want to do a career change, every time we want to move apartments, every time we want to start a new venture, there's so many scary things trying to achieve our goals. And if we keep looking at this one big goal, or we actually don't even look at it at all, we will usually only see problems, right? Because basically goals are solutions that you're striving to get to eventually. And if you're not happy with your work, what you would see is that you're not happy at where you work, but you won't see that your goal is to change companies or to change your line of what you're doing right now, right? So basically goals help you transform big problems into very small obstacles. Goals will make it so much easier for you to make decisions, because if you know what you want to get to, if you know what's like the ending line for 2017, where you want to be, so you know that your decisions will have to be based on progressing you into those to that space, right? So basically a lot of the decisions that you have to make, you will actually just have to answer them by saying, does this drive me forward my goal? Does it help me progress? If not, so you know that it's not even a decision to make. The answer is no, right? And also goals hold you accountable for failure, right? I know most people don't love to speak about failure, especially don't like to fail, but you do. That's part of life, and it's okay. Not every goal that you set up to achieve, you will achieve. We'll talk about this later as well. But basically, even when you fail or if you don't achieve your goal, you can go back and ask yourself why. And you'll know that you didn't achieve your goal. So maybe the reason that you didn't achieve your goal, maybe the reason that you didn't achieve your goal is that you didn't care about it enough. Maybe it's because you didn't put the effort into it. I was listening to, I've recently became like a really big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. I kind of know Gary a little bit from social for a long time now, and we actually emailed a few times, but I actually even have this hilarious video of him. So, what he said is that he gets emails from people, from entrepreneurs who are saying that they're trying so hard to work on their dream, and they're not achieving it, and they want to quit. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, well, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on this, they say something like, 2 years. And then when he asks them how long have been working on 4 months, and I've been doing this with a part-time job, etc., etc. Well, sometimes, if you don't put in the full effort, or if you're not trying hard enough or long enough, then you might fail. And you need to go back to ask yourself, why did I fail? And sometimes not hassling enough or not working hard at it enough is the reason. So you just want to be able to track that and see that it works. Okay, so any questions on why it's important, though I think it's kind of obvious by now? Okay. So if this process is so methodical and easy, why do most people fail when trying to achieve their goals? Why did you fail? Why did I fail? Why do most of the people that we know that are promising or creating the resolutions fail every year over and over again? So to sum it up, basically, there's a lot of reasons, but here are the top ones. So first one is bad goal definition, right? A lot of people just do terrible work at defining their goal. So for example, if I'll say like in 2016, I want to write more. So writing more doesn't really mean anything, right? Writing more means maybe if I wrote like 7 blog posts a week, like 7 blog posts a month in 2015, this time I want to write more, like 14, but is 14 a success or not? I need to decide. I need to really define my goal. And if I don't define my goal the right way, then I'm most likely to fail at actually achieving it, right? Because basically I wouldn't know if I'm on the right track or not, and I would not even know that I'm achieving it or not, right? So bad goal definition is, I think, the #1 reason why people fail at actually achieving their goals. We're going to talk later on how to actually define the goal that you can actually work with. A lot of people fail to choose the right goal, right? So failing to choose the right goal means that you say that something is important to you, for example, but it's not. Or saying that you want to focus on something, but you don't really want to focus on it, right? So basically, you're choosing goals that are not right for you, either because it's not in your intent, either because it's not in your real reach, but you're just chasing the wrong thing. And the wrong thing actually can just be that you're saying that you want it, but you don't want it, or it can actually be that you're setting an unrealistic goal. So the third thing is that the goals that people are setting to themselves are just not important enough, right? So my wife Maria is here on the chat with us, so she can tell you that I've been talking about going to the gym in the past 2 years, and I had so many excuses why I'm not doing that. So to be really honest, apparently going to the gym doesn't really mean that much to me. I do want I really do want to work out a little bit. I want to feel better, but it's not a gym as the gym that is a goal to me. It's not something that is, the way I frame it at least, is not really important enough to me. If it was important enough, I would find a way to do it, right? So sometimes we need to admit to ourselves that we set a goal that might be popular, might be cool, but it's just not as important enough to us as we claim it is, right? So another reason is people leave stuff to chance, right? Usually that actually means they don't plan it. So for example, if I want to write a book this year, and it's one of my personal goals to write my first book in 2016. So if I would just say, okay, I'm going to write it and it's going to be done by the end of 2016, but I won't plan it, it won't happen, right? There's so many stuff to do. Life is not something that you actually have like over free time. So if you don't plan it, it's not going to happen, right? So if you're leaving stuff to chance, saying, hey, I want this and this to happen, but you don't do anything to plan or to make sure that it happens, it just won't happen. So some people just make the resolution and they kind of feel that if they set it, that's what they want to do, or that's their goal, it's just going to happen to them sometime this year. No, you have to work at it, right? So if you don't create a plan, you're basically leaving it up to chance, meaning you're 99.9% going to fail. Another mistake people do is that they don't share their goals. So there's actually a psychological study that says that talking about what you want to achieve will reduce your passion in achieving that. So because a certain part of the brain tells you that once you say something out loud, it feels like it already has done it. So if for example, I say that I'm going to start going to the gym from next week, right? Something in me will actually feel like I've already went to the gym, and I will feel like I'm like halfway there, even though I haven't done anything. But on the other hand, when you're focusing on long-term goals, you need people to be there for you, and you need someone to hold you accountable, basically. Because if I said that I'll write a book, and it will be, I don't know, we'll get to August, and one of you will ask me, hey, what about your book? I will feel really bad about the fact that I haven't progressed at all, right? So as if I have more people that know about this, more people will hold me accountable to this. This actually will play a big role in keeping you up to speed with your goals. Like, I will go deeper into this later on. So another problem is that people don't set milestones. So I'm going to keep on with the book example. So let's say that I want to write a book. It's not a one action item, right? It's not like it's 2016, I want to write a book. We're getting to December 2016 and I have a book ready. I need to put in different milestones to check my progress or to make sure that I'm actually moving towards my goal as the year goes by, right? Not just wait till 2017 will start, open up my goal sheet and say like, oh, I didn't achieve this, right? I want something that will help me to track it as I go, to make sure that I'm on the right track. So a lot of people, when they set their goals, they kind of dream their goals, but they don't think of the work that it's going to take. So when you think about, I want to have a six-pack by the end of the summer, you're thinking about your result, but basically what you need to be thinking about is going to the gym. And you need to think about the 3 or 4 times a week you're going to be at the gym for an hour. That's what you need to think about, right? You need to think about the work that it's going to take you. Don't think just about having a finished book, right? Think about, okay, I'm spending 30 minutes a day writing my book. So most people don't focus on the work. They focus on kind of a magic result, right? And they just never follow through. Okay, and the last thing is some people are just setting goals that are not realistic at all, right? So basically, if you're saying, if you're dead broke right now and you say, I'm going to have $1 million by the end of the year, some stories, some magic stories happen, but it's probably not a very realistic goal, right? So the second you set up an unrealistic goal, you're basically setting up yourself for failure. So make sure that when you're setting a goal, it has something to do that is attached to reality, right? Don't just make something up that is totally unrealistic and you know that you will never manage to do. So, but this is about how actually reaching your goals and not just seeing why different excuses help you not to get them. So let's talk a little bit how to choose the right goal. So for this, I actually want each one of you to do a very small exercise here with me. So the first step, super simple, just take an A4 blank page or a notepad. I know you're all next to your computers, and maybe that's more comfortable for you, but if you can, I would rather you using like a regular pen and paper or a notepad. Okay? Write it down when you have those, or you've opened like a document. Avia, talking about the unrealistic thing, well, unrealistic can mean different things to a lot of people. Unrealistic is something very subjective and very personal. So unrealistic is basically something that you know that there is no way you can achieve. It's not about setting too high of a goal, okay? It's not about setting like a really high bar for a goal. It's about doing stuff that you know that you just can't really do. We're talking about stuff that are like unquestionable, unrealistic. We're not talking about like being. We're not talking about goals like becoming the top selling author of the New York Times. That's a very hard goal, but it is achievable, right? I actually remember a chat with Tim Ferriss when he had that goal for the 4 Hours Work book, right? So it is a goal that you can achieve. It's a hard goal, but it's realistic. Doing an unrealistic goal will be something that is like totally beyond your capabilities. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys still see the screen? Okay. Guys, I see that some of you are having problem with actually seeing the screen and the presentation. Okay, so we're back to it. Okay, Via, you can always aim high. I have to admit that I don't have any problems with failing to achieve your goal if you progress towards them, right? I mean, 2016 is 1 year, and you still have like the rest of your life. But if you have a very high, if you've set up a really high goal, and by the end of 2016, you are that much closer in reaching it, but you have to postpone it to 2017 and prevail for another year, that's also okay, right? It's not like if you didn't achieve your goal, it's game over. So it's very important to see it as a long-term game. So take a blank page or a notepad. If you have to, you can use your computer to do this. Okay, and basically you want to create a table with 2 or 3 categories. Does anybody got their pen and paper or open their Google Doc or any kind of pages, numbers, Word, Excel, whatever it is that you want to use? Do you have it? Via, hopefully you're not alone with this, and I hope that everybody here have crazy high standards for themselves, because I've seen the list of people who are viewing this right now, and like they're all very like amazing people, you included. So so I'm hoping everybody are actually gonna aim really high. So so everybody got their notepads and papers, or at least their Excel sheets? Okay, Shani is ready. So Miss Bitcoin. Okay. So basically, what Miss Bitcoin is asking, that if we break every decision in thinking that we still have our entire life to achieve it, well, how can we ever commit to ourselves? Well, the idea is basically not to postpone your goal, but if, for example, you decided that you want to be like the number one, like the top, like the top author for the New York Times, like does it, you know? So, and you finish your year and you're signing up a book deal because it took longer to sign up the book deal. You know, it doesn't mean you should give up on your goal just because 2016 is over. That's what I'm saying. You should always try and aim to do stuff in the for the next 12 months. That's what you're planning for. But you shouldn't be discouraged if you didn't get it, right? You need to remember that you're still working on things, and the idea is not to postpone it. If you haven't done anything to progress towards that goal, then it's not a real goal, and you should put it aside. But if you're doing the work and you're progressing, and stuff just take more time than you think, keep hustling. It's okay. Is that a good answer? Okay. So let's go to the second step, right? So you need to create 2 or 3 categories. So you're going to create the categories based on basically the method or approach that you want to take. So there are 2 ways people usually break down the categories for their goals. The classic one is personal goals and career or work goals, right? Where obviously everything that is a personal goal is about your personal life, relationships, family, friends, self-improvement, etc. And work or career is related to what you do and to the line of work that you do. So another version of this, and I got this one actually from Tim Ferriss, is segmenting this into 3 different categories. It's what do you want to own, what do you want to be, and what do you want to do, right? So the idea is this, basically, is to break it down into like different methods, into different categories. So basically, for example, let's say that I want to buy a house by the end of the year, or I want to buy a car, or I want to buy a new computer, or whatever it is that I want to purchase, right? So I also need to include the financial aspect of it into my goals, right? Because it has to match other stuff that I'm doing. So what do you want to be? So basically what you want to be is about self-improvement. If you want to learn a new language, if you want to be friendlier, if you want to be I don't know, it's about stuff that you want to improve in yourself. If you want to be more in fit or stuff like that. And the last one is what you want to do is about stuff that you just want to do in this year. If you want to travel more often, if you want to read more books. So it's basically just stuff that you really want to do. Admittedly, I'm a bigger fan of the first method of like dividing it into personal and work, just because I don't like the idea of owning stuff as a goal, and I think it will mostly make you sadder as the year goes by. But I get that some people would rather use this method. Okay, so the next step, and I'm going to give you like a few minutes to do this, is based on the categories that you choose, just create a list of everything you can think of that you want to do or achieve or be or succeed at in 2016. Like take 5 minutes and do it, no filters, just write down everything possible. Right. Later on, do this for longer than 5 minutes, but just for the sake of it, take 5 minutes now and start your list. All right. Let me know when you are ready. Kevin, health, food, fitness, business, relax, relationship, knowledge. Those are all good categories, but I think it's very something very subjective because, for example, so for me, one of the things that I want to do is I want to immerse myself even more into social networks in 2016. I want to be more active on Twitter, more active on Snapchat, more active on Facebook, and take the new myself and the new brand that we're launching soon further into social media. So in the business section, I can see how I can fit social media into this. In the personal, admittedly, I don't see how I can define it to like a real category that you've suggested. Do you guys need some ideas or inspiration for goals? So, for example, by the way, just gonna give you um, some ideas. So, like a career goal can be switch jobs to one that you know you will enjoy more. It can be like about pick up and learn a new skill. It can be about double your sales and productivity. It can be about partner up with another person to increase productivity. It could be about learn how to network better and attend networking events. It can be so many different things. It can be learn a new language. It can be experience new things and stuff like that. So don't restrain yourself. You can just basically write whatever you want. Yeah, basically the potential is that they all include the same things. It's just a different way of looking at it to help you become more creative or more to help you think better of what goals you want to achieve. There's no right or wrong, right? So it's just like the method that works better for you. So we'll take like 2 more minutes and we'll proceed. If you have any questions or suggestions in the meantime, you can write us in the event page. Shai, you're asking a good question because this is like one step forward. Because, for example, I would expect at this stage that the goal would be like to be more mindful this year, or to be more relaxed. And then the way I would, and then when I will try to define the goal better, I would do like meditate 3 times a week. That's for me. That's like the so for me, meditating 3 times a week would be like the best way to define the goal that you want to achieve. But I'm guessing that people will say either I want to be more mindful, I want to focus more on myself, or I'll be more spiritual, or relax more, stuff like that. So does anybody wants to share like a few of the goals so we can see it if it's not too personal? Okay. I'm guessing like a lot of the things that you write are personal. It's cool. It's okay. It's yours. So the next step, this is like basically the hard step. From everything you wrote, and again, later on, go back and do this for more than 5 minutes, right? My list of things actually took me about an hour and a half to come up with. Not because I'm so creative and I had so many things, but because you really need to be like in a situation where you have a peace of mind and you can really focus to come up with the things you care about. Okay. So basically, now that you, sorry. Um, okay, I love it. Thanks to Di and Shaka for sharing this with us. So Adi wants to learn Spanish, and Shaka wants to be a better communicator, more mindful, and a well-rounded designer. Love it. Okay, those are really good goals. Um, Shai, so you want mine actually for? I will share. I don't have it in front of me, which is a big mistake. But so actually, for me, it's to launch two new ventures this year. One of them will be in like I think will be by the end of February, and the third one, uh, and the second one will be later on this year. I won't reveal what it is yet. But it's also to become more well known in my niche. That later on I will say how I define becoming like better known in my niche. Um, Shayna, I love your goal, and I can totally relate to it. I would also be love to be able to say no when I'm overwhelmed. This is one of my biggest fuck ups, actually. That I that I always said I will say no to stuff, but then they come and ask you to give like a talk somewhere or help a startup, etc. And then you eventually say yes because you just want to help. Um, okay, guys, I really love the fact that you're sharing your goals. So the next thing will be to actually just choose 3 goals for each category, right? So this, I think, where the hard part starts, because if you have like a lot of goals, and again, this 5 minutes is not enough to really help let you concentrate and write down everything you're thinking about, right? So like later on, find like an hour and a half, 2 hours, um, and just sit down with yourself, hopefully in a quiet place, and just think about the things you want to achieve or want to be or want to learn this year. Right? It takes time. It takes time. It takes focus. It's hard to do this in 5 minutes. So the next step after you have like this really long list is basically that you need to choose only 3 goals, right? Because you have only so much time a month in a year, and you have only so much hours a day. So trying to get more than 3 goals per category would usually lead up to you either being too overwhelmed with what you want to do, that you won't do anything at all, or that you would start saying that you're not achieving the goals because you've set too much goals, and you would just quit them all together. And the third thing that is that you will actually understand that your goals are not important, right? I'm going to share like this trick that I do when I buy records. So basically, I'm a really, really big fan of music, and I love buying records. And every time I go to this garage sale or go to a store, I start picking up these records that I feel are like a must-have records, like I need to have this record. And when I actually don't want to buy a record, I would go through the entire store to pick up as many records that I feel like I must have them. Because I know that when I get to the register, I will actually need to select the ones I really do want. And basically what happens is that when you find out that you have like 15 albums that you must have, you understand that you don't really must have anything, right? And you kind of let go of them all. So it's kind of the same thing about choosing too many goals. If you have too many goals, you understand that none of them are really important to you. But if you make them fight for for the place in your list, so if you see that basically that you're fighting over the spot in your list, you will only choose like the really right ones. Okay. Shai, I'm guessing that you're not thinking about work-related goals right now because you're not at work right now. But later on, sit and think about this. If you want to, of course, email me, and I will go over this with you. I know that you have so many ambitions, so I know that you have work goals. So a few of the tips that has really been helpful to me to decide which 3 things I want to focus on. So first of all, you need to look at the list and ask yourself, what do you really want to achieve? The second you have only like 3 spots per category, you start actually understanding what's something that is really important to you and what is something that's like nice to have, but not really. Second thing is choose a goal that creates a journey, right? As I said before, reaching out your goals, it's not like for 1 second, it's not there the second, and then in a second you've reached your goal. It's basically putting in a lot of work, right? So when you choose your goal, think about the journey that you're going to have to make in order to achieve that goal. If you're thinking about being more fit, think about going to the gym. If you think about writing a book, think about spending time writing. If you think about learning a new language, don't think about yourself like how you walk around Paris speaking French, right? Think about how you sit down with Duolingo or a book or a course and you go to a language class every week, right? So third thing, make sure your goal excites you, because a lot of people choose goals that they don't really care about, or that it's nice to have, but when they think about them, it doesn't really make them like want to leap out of bed in the morning. You only have 6 goals in total for the next year. Make sure each one of them really, really excites you, right? Think about performance vs outcome goals. So for example, if let's say, for example, that your goal is to become a top-selling author for the New York Times, and you get to a point where you have your book ready and it's out and it's not, and it doesn't become a top-selling book, right? So basically your performance is more important than the outcome goal at this term, right? Because you actually sat down, you wrote a book, it had a real chance, you did the work, you did create something. So sometimes the outcome goals will not be as you expected, but it's still, you've put in work into the process. And make sure that you're selecting them for the right reasons. A lot of the time we're selecting goals that we don't really care about, but the people around us care about, or are very popular, or they're very trendy, or a friend of ours is doing it. So make sure that you're selecting your goals for the right reasons. Okay, so some additional guides you can ask yourself is, how do I want to spend my time? Remember that you actually will have to do work for this. So how do I want to spend my time? Do I want to spend my time helping people? Do I want to spend my time writing? One of the personal challenges for me for this year is to write a blog post every day. So I was actually asking myself, will I be willing to sit down in front of a computer for 30 minutes and write a blog post every day? Do I want to have this experience? And I decided that yes, I want to spend time doing that. So think about right now, or what kind of daily activities makes you want to leap out of bed? What are the things that you are actually doing are making you excited and passionate about what you're doing? Ask yourself, what do I want to learn? At the end of every goal, it means that we have more experience, we've learned something new, we achieved something, we grew as people, right? So ask yourself, what do I want to learn? What do I want to take out of this experience? what I want to know more about as I reach this goal. And the fourth one is like, who do you want to hang out with? Who do you want to talk with? Who do you want to collaborate with? Right? Because if you have a goal in a certain segment, then you're probably going to find yourself talking to a lot of people about it. If you want to be more fit for 2017, right? So you will spend a lot of time next to other people that are going to the gym, or nutritionists, or people that are working out with you, or compare exercise, etc. Right? So, Shahab, you say that one of your resolutions for 2016 is to choose the only one platform for reading. I chose Medium, so you have no choice but to write there as well. The idea is basically to write more or just to read less. Hmm. So, okay, so later on, or even now, if you feel like you're focused enough, you can actually start trying to go and segment your goals for 2016. So now that we actually know what we want to do and what we want to achieve, right? It's time to go and actually define our goals. So as I said before, um, I want to read more. I want to write more. I want to be in better fit. I want to be in a better position at my workplace. Those are not actionable goals, right? It's very hard to achieve them. So this means that you need to define your goals in a really, really straightforward way. So the first thing you need to do is for every goal that you set up, you need to make it SMART. SMART is basically the acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay, so specific, I mean, a specific goal will usually like answer the 5 W's, which is like what it is, why am I doing this, who, where, and which. Writing a specific objective fleshes out the goal so you can easily identify what you want to accomplish. Right? So for example, reading more basically means I want to attain more knowledge, or just that basically that that I know that reading helps me write better later on and it inspires me. So for example, to read more, I would make it into like read more books, right? Or read more articles about growth hacking or whatever. Next thing is that you want to make it measurable, right? So if your goal isn't measurable, you will never know if you're making progress or not. So again, as I said, I want to read more. So for me to read more, again, one of my personal goals for this year is basically means finishing 2 books a month, right? So this is like a very measurable 2 books every month. The next thing you want to make sure is that your goal is attainable. Okay, Amir. So for example, get promotion is a goal. Okay, so attainable. Basically, you wanna have something that you can realistically attain, right? So you were asking Avia earlier about unrealistic goals. So I want to fly like a bird is not a realistic goal, right? But learn how to jump off a cliff with a hang glider is a bit more realistic, right? So the goal that you're setting has to be attainable. So it has to be something that you can actually do. Next thing is it has to be relevant to you, right? If your goal doesn't mean anything to you, then it's not worth pursuing, right? Tie your goals to deeper values and stuff that have meaning for you. Make sure you're behind the goal 100% to stay motivated to achieve it, right? We're talking about planning something for the next 12 months. Like the momentum right now or the motivation you have might not stick around that long, right? So you have to make sure that you really want to achieve that goal and that goal is relevant to you. Okay, and the last thing is that you want to make it into something that is time bound, right? Because if you don't have any time goals for this, so usually what will happen is like what Miss Bitcoin said before, like the year will end and you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve, and it will just keep going that way. So when you set up your goal, also you need to put in a time frame. Is this part clear? Do you have any questions? Okay, so 2 more tips. when you write your goal, use a positive language, right? For example, stop being lazy, right? That's like a negative way to put in your goal. But saying do meet friends at least 3 times a week, that's a positive goal, right? Or find new, get a promotion, for example, is a good goal. Okay, so put your goal in a very positive language because it needs to inspire you, not to put you down, not to scare you. It needs to be inspiring for you. And the second thing is write them in a way that there's only one meaning to it. One of the things that our brain loves doing is lie to us in the aftermath. So that's what you're asking, is how to deal with the deadline. Um, so what do you mean when it's like not external? Are you talking about processes that you want to do within you, etc.? So for example, one of the things that I love talking about and working at it is basically going out of your comfort zone. So for example, going out of your comfort zone is not something that is external, right? Because it's basically something that you feel and you need to behave according to it. So for example, if I would say that my goal is to do something, is to get out of my comfort zone, like what I would do is that I would sit down and write, uh, let's say 12 things that I'm not comfortable with, or I would try and think about 12 situations that I won't be comfortable with, and I would put a deadline to do one every month or do one every week. So actually, a while ago, I did do a small test with getting out of your comfort zone. So for me, basically, it was about uh, doing a selfie because, believe it or not, I up until this year I've never taken and uploaded a selfie. I know that's crazy. The second one was to live stream something. I'm not a big fan of live streaming, and I've actually uh, done it. And the third one was actually to launch an online course, which I have failed to do. So okay, let's see. You wrote the answer. So okay, so we'll talk about later on how to deal with deadlines and how you can set deadlines that you will have to acknowledge. Okay, Shai, that's also a very good tip. Start a goal with "I will easily." That's a really good tip. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you set deadlines and how to make sure that you actually achieve them, right? So, but when I did my own like getting out of the comfort zone thing, I just said, okay, in the next month I'm going to do these 3 things, and I just found motivators to do each one. The selfie thing, for example, was I just tweeted at it, and Gary Vaynerchuk actually just tweeted back at me saying that like get your shit together and like take a selfie and post it, and that's what I did. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 examples of goals that are well set. So for example, goal number 1, spend more time with my family, something that I feel like I really need to do more this year. So I can break it down to very simple 3 things. Coming back home at 6:30 at least 3 times a week, because I know that my work is busy and I know that it's crazy, and I know that I have times that I have to work till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So saying always be back till 6:30, that will make this goal into, I wouldn't say unrealistic, but it will be a goal that it will be very easy for me to say I can't achieve it and kind of break loose from it. So coming back home at 6:30 at least 3 times a week is something that I know I can do. And my goal will be like 5 times, of course, but 3 times is something that I feel like I can commit to. And maybe when I see that this is coming very easily to me in 2 months, I will actually go back to my goal setting, and I will tend to come back every day till 6:30. So another thing that for me, spend more time with family means like don't work on weekends, right? And the third one would be like not check emails on family time, right? Like this will be super, super easy. this will be like super easy for me to track if I've done it or not, right? And like Maria is here next to me, and I'm sure that she will be happy to tell me if I'm checking emails in family time or if I work at weekends, which I actually do too often, right? So that's like a pretty, it's not a perfectly well-defined goal, but it's a pretty well-defined goal, right? Another version can be learn new things, right? So learn new things for me, and this is how actually this is taken from my goal, is first of all, like watch a TED talk every day, do one Udemy course a month, and it's actually cut off here, but it's read 3 new articles every day. So this is like very specific, right? Like I wouldn't know if I'm achieving this or not. If I watch a TED talk every day, it means that I'm setting up, like I'm learning something new every day. If I do one Udemy course a month, then I'm learning a new skill. And if I'm reading 3 articles, it usually, again, means that I've learned something new in the line of what I do. Okay, does that make sense? Anybody has a question before we move on? Okay. So the next thing, we talked about the fact that if you don't have a plan, then you would usually fail. And if you don't have a plan, it's simply another way of saying that you won't follow through, and you're not even really planning on following through, right? Because if you don't have a plan, it means that you're hoping that magically by December 2016, your goal will be done, or you will achieve something without putting the real work into it. So let's talk a little bit about how to plan your way towards your goal. So first of all, you want to break it down into little bits, right? So let's take the example of writing my first book. So if my goal will be write my first book and I wouldn't break it down into little bits, then basically it's like a huge mountain that will be very hard for me to find time for, right? Because I won't just book time that is like, Shai, if you have more than 3 personal goals, usually means that they'll have to fight for 3 spots. That's it. Don't choose more than 3 goals. Okay. So first of all, break it down into little bits. Now, the second thing is make an actual actionable plan to get it. So I'm going to keep on with the writing my first book. So an actionable plan will be set up every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. At the end of my workday, sit down for 30 minutes and write. And have at least 3 chapters written down by let's say, for example, by March, I need to have like 5 chapters, okay, or like 100 pages. So this is like a very actionable plan to get it, right? Next thing is share to be held accountable, right? You're all listening to me here talking about the fact that I'm going to write my first book this year. If we get to January 2017 and I won't have a book written, I would feel very foolish or disappointing. So basically, I'm held accountable, and that's you asked about deadlines. This is part of actually deadline solution, is being held accountable. Well, I'll give you some tips on how to make sure that you're not screwing that up. So the next thing is set milestones. So milestones will actually be 100 pages by the end of March, or the milestones would be lose 5 pounds by the, I don't know, next month, etc. So a milestone would basically just be putting in like pinpoints or progress points along the way that you check up with. The next one is set checkpoints. What usually happens is that people say that they're going to do something and they never go back to check their goals for that year. They kind of remember to think about it every once in a while, but they don't go back to check it, which means that they will usually get sidetracked from their plan, right? It usually means that it will be like, I don't know, November, and they said, oh shit, I wanted to do this and this, and I forgot to do this. So basically, one of the smart things to do is add checkpoints, like, for example, review your goals weekly and update your progress on them. Or, set up a meeting with a friend every 2 weeks and share where you are right now in terms of your goals. But basically, have an event in which you're checking out or reviewing your goals for that year. Next thing is add stakes. We'll talk about this later on. But basically, if I don't do my goal, if I don't hold up my deadline, what will happen? Right? That's, you said it very well. Like when you're doing schoolwork, then you have a deadline, and you know that if you don't make it, you're either going to fail or there's going to be some kind of a penalty. Do the same thing in your personal life. Okay? And the last thing is, if your goal doesn't work, change it. If you're not really passionate about the goal, if you feel like you're a different person right now and this doesn't matter to you as much as it was before, change it. Like the worst thing you can do is just like stay or stick to a goal that you really don't care about or you don't feel related to it, and not changing it just because you wouldn't change it. Right? It doesn't mean that if the goals that you're choosing right now are not good for you in 6 months, just change them and trace something else. Right? Don't waste time, or don't waste any of your passion or energy on stuff that you don't care about. Okay? So I'm going to share with you 4 ways that actually work really well to follow through with your goals. I'm going to talk about tools, stakes, reminders, and pair-ups. So tools, there are 2 really good apps that you can use to track your progress. One of them is Coach.me, and one of them is Way of Life. So for Coach.me, basically you set up goals. For example, drink water every day. If you want to live a healthier lifestyle, and one of the way you demonstrate living a healthier lifestyle is drinking water every morning, or not checking your emails in the first 60 minutes, or I don't know, whatever it is. You can just set it up like as like a check-in. So basically, every time you do something or you achieve something, you just check in and you get a V for that day saying, okay, you've done this. So I really love this app. It's also like a social app, so you can see what other people are doing and you can get likes and comments as you progress. I think it's a very nice tool, and it's, for me, just a very easy way to track my progress during the year. What I actually just started using recently, I got a recommendation from Kevin Rose about this, was an app called Way of Life. What Way of Life does is basically, again, kind of the same thing. You log into the app, you set up your goals. If you want to write 3 times a week, then it will, 3 times a week, it will give you the option to mark as done. But what I really love about it is that it also gives you stats and graphics about your progress. So for me, because I'm like a huge data nerd, so I really love getting like the information in a way that I can see it, and I can see like the different pivots, and I can see if I can see the patterns of me succeeding or failing at something. Right, because even when you fail, there's a pattern on how you lose interest. So the next option is basically using stakes. But this one is for you, because you ask how to work with deadlines that you're setting up for yourself. So so the idea of stakes is that if you don't reach your goal, you're going to lose something. So you can do this with a friend, right? Say, if I don't write 100 pages by the end of March, I will have to invite you to a very expensive meal. Or I'm gonna. Well, actually, I think we've actually done this with a friend of ours. That he wanted to set up a new venture, and his first goal was to set up a landing page with a coming soon to get some emails, and he's been postponing that for a long time. And basically, when he spoke with me about this, I said, let's do it this way. If your page is not up by Sunday, you have to buy me an iPad Air. And we laughed about this, and then said, no, I'm really serious. I want a new iPad Air. So if you don't do this, you have to buy me one. And he said, okay. And of course, that he got it done by the end of that day after postponing it for 3 months. So that's one way of stakes. The second one, there's a website called Stick with 2 Ks. Basically, what you do is that this website is dedicated to this kind of things. So you basically promise, for example, to donate $1,000 to an organization you really hate. I know some people have done this with the KKK and stuff like that. If I don't achieve a goal, donate $1,000 to the KKK, or you can just don't go to that extreme, but just, I don't know, donate to a football team that you hate or whatever. And you set everything up. So if you don't reach the goal at that time, that money is lost, right? Like the $1,000 will go to the $1,000 will go to the organization that you disliked, right? So basically, if you're not doing it, you're going to lose money. So that's the second one. The third one is like basically just reminders. Set up calendars, reminders to check your progress every Sunday morning or Monday morning. Just have a pop-up coming up to you and say, hey, check up your Google Doc with your goals for this month. Update your progress. That's like a very easy, simple thing to do. And another one is just pairing up with someone who you can track your progress together with. Right? So find a friend you can talk to weekly about this and follow up on each other's progress. Because basically, once, and this was like proven scientifically, that if every week you're going to speak to that friend and he's going to ask you, hey, how are you progressing? And you will say, oh, I haven't done anything. You will feel kind of bad about yourself. And you will feel lazy. And eventually you will just try to do what you need to do. Then going back to that friend and always saying, hey, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. And what's amazing about most goals is that when you're breaking down the right way, it's basically about doing this very small thing. It's about waking up at the time that you set up in the morning. It's about sitting down for 30 minutes and doing something. It's about going to the gym. It's about doing this one thing that will get you out of your comfort zone, where it's a very attainable, specific mission. So it's a task that you need to remove off your list, right? So it's very easy to do. So basically that's it. So like the last message, and I will be kind of a hippie about this, is that to remind you something that if you study Buddhism for a while or Zen, you understand that every second is unique and it holds up the potential to be everything and nothing at the same time, which basically means that the fact that you one thing at this second doesn't mean you have to be consistent in the next second, right? So every second you have the full potential to reinvent yourself and do whatever you want and become this whole different person. One of the famous, I think, things about Steve Jobs, and something Tim Cook talked about, is that Steve Jobs could say something for 1 second and then on the other second change his mind completely and be as assured of what he's saying as he was when he was saying the other thing. And the explanation for that was basically that every second, as it holds the potential to be everything, doesn't have to be accountable for the previous second. So if for 1 second, for example, you were this guy who was always late, you can make a decision, and for the next second, just don't be that guy, right? If you're the kind of person that eats out of boredom, in 1 second of decision, you can stop being that person just by not getting up to the refrigerator the next time. And by understanding that every second that passes has the potential to be everything, and you can reinvent yourself again and again and again, even if you fail, by the way, is the key to actually make progress and change in your life. So that's it. I hope you all really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed making this for you. And I would love to hear from you as you set up your goals and as you progress with your goals. So have a really good night. And that's it. Bye, guys.